All right, well, welcome back to the Merck Method, where we explore mental wellness, growth, and the human experience. So, this week's podcast is going to be the origin of Men's Mental Health Month. And I actually just wanted to do a quick shout out to Kyle Kemp, one of my very good friends. He actually came up with this idea for this episode because, he really wants to understand kind of how all of this evolved. And so I thought it was a great idea, so let's go with it. So we're going to talk about the power behind Men's Mental Health Month. Where did it come from? Why does it matter? And how do we continue that movement, today? Let's be real for a minute. The stigma around men's mental health was and actually still is costing lives. But change has to start somewhere, right? For a very long time, mental health was a topic that stayed really behind closed doors. And actually, that's still like that today, but it's getting a little bit better, but we're still have a long ways to go on allowing yourself to feel that you can talk about these issues to other people. And for men, those doors are often, locked shut and are still feeling that way every single day. So words like weak, unstable, unmanly, you're tossed around anytime a guy opens up will really just result in him closing down even more and really not ever sharing his true emotions with anyone at this point. The generations of men before us now were raised to believe that emotions were the enemy. Crying was not for men. Therapy, that was out of the question. Therapy wasn't even really a thing back then. And then talking about depression, anxiety, and trauma, you might as well forget it. The problem that lies in all of this is that silent suffering leads to staggering consequences. So here's a fact for you. Did you know that men die by suicide nearly 4 times more than women in the US? That men are far less likely to seek mental health treatment. That stigma was and still is costing lives. But change had to start somewhere, right? So let's talk about the birth of men's mental health awareness. So let's go back to 1994. That's when the movement really began picking up steam. A group of health advocates in Kansas City, Missouri, created the nonprofit Men's Health Network. One of the major goals was to increase awareness of preventable health problems among men and boys at that time. They had a very clear message: let's get men to the doctor. Let's talk about mental health. Let's break that silence. That group that actually started all of this officially established Men's Mental Health Week, which celebrated during the week of Father's Day to, of course, emphasize the importance of men's health and family support. And as that movement grew, so did the recognition. So, another fun fact: in 1994, Congress passed a bill recognizing Men's Mental Health Week. Thanks to the bipartisan support, yes, Republicans and Democrats agreed on something. It was signed by President Bill Clinton. So, once that law was signed, that one week turned into a month-long observance, what we, of course, now call Men's Mental Month, held in June. But it wasn't just about physical health anymore. The conversation began to include mental and emotional wellness as well for men. So now we jump into the early 2000s, where organizations began to really realize that focusing only on cholesterol, prostate exams, and fitness wasn't really cutting it. The hard truth was that you can be physically fit and still suffer silently. Now, with all of this happening, mental health finally started taking center stage. Movements like Movember helped. Although Movember started in Australia as a fun way to raise awareness for men's cancers, it quickly added mental health and suicide prevention to its mission. So, social media is a really good outlet for males to understand that they're not alone in this. And it shows that there are other males, especially celebrities and, you know, famous athletes and, everything in between, are coming out and really allowing them to share their struggles. Like Dwayne The Rock Johnson has stepped up about it. Ryan Reynolds has talked about it many a times. Even Prince Henry has spoke up about his mental health issues. And that really has changed the game for everyone, because now it's not just who's kind of around you, but it's on a bigger platform. When you really start to see all of these individuals talking about the same things that you're struggling with, that really takes some of the weight off of you because a lot of times you just feel like you're on an island by yourself. Like it's just you that feels this way. You really start to have hope that you're going to get through this one way or another because you are watching somebody on that high of a platform go through the same thing, but also are talking about it in social media in front of millions and millions of people. So you can relate to that. And that's kind of the first step is just knowing that you're just not alone. You really aren't. And for those individuals who are sharing with everybody, that really didn't make them weak. It's making them courageous for sharing that with so many people. And I'm sure that it took a long time to build up that strength to allow everyone to see that because, again, it's looked at as a weakness. And you see a lot of these people are trying to hide it behind comedy or whatever outlet they have been using, whether they're acting or sports or weightlifting or whatever it may be. So, really, that's a really courageous act. And when you start talking about it, it's the same thing. It's no different. Just because you are not a very famous athlete or an actor doesn't mean that that doesn't show strength that you can open up to other people. And with social media, that helps raise awareness about mental health issues and really encourages open conversations with everybody. Sharing your personal stories and experience really helps normalize these conversations and hopefully kind of reduces that stigma around men really looking for help. Really, one of the biggest things with social media is really helps people look for valuable resources, right? Like good mental health professionals, and support groups that I believe wholeheartedly that listening to other people's stories and sitting in it with them, you can take, even if it's a little bit of information from somebody, it's still positive information that you can use towards yourself to really understand what you're kind of going through. And then again, of course, that you're not alone in this and that you can get through this. Really, a lot of this stuff comes down to is finding that safe space for individuals to be able to share these emotions that are just building up. And we don't really want them to sit there because it's just sitting on your shelf. And what's going to happen is that anger and all that emotion and sadness and everything else in between will eventually explode. And we don't want that for anybody. And it's just for men, we have been taught again to hold it in and not allow us to share it with anybody. So, with the social media platforms, it really is just allowing males to find that safe space, and especially when they might be hesitant to seek help in the first place. But when you start to see individuals and they're having the same types of feelings and emotions that they're not sharing, you kind of start to resonate with that and you start to really feel like you're getting more comfortable with sharing with someone. So before I go away from social media and the positives that it allows males to kind of connect with, I do also have to just throw in some of the negative things, even though I do promote positive reinforcements. There are some negative stigmas around social media, like how it promotes unrealistic body expectations for some males, which can lead to negative comparisons, potentially impacting men's self esteem and thinking that this is what you need to have a positive outlook in life and that's how you're supposed to look, and sometimes social media can is a good source for cyberbullying and online harassment. So that's kind of what you kind of have to be aware of. But as long as you have that awareness and also the awareness to tap out of that situation, those are people's opinions that don't matter, right? It's just you. We're looking to really strengthen your mind and no one else's. So if you can kind of just push that aside, which of course is very, very difficult because it's everywhere, but you can do it. There are positive places everywhere where you can follow that don't have those negative reinforcements and those negative ideas. And that's what we're really looking for in the social media platforms is to find those and follow those and really find your group that allows you to listen and share and really take some positives out of that that you can reinforce for yourself. So connecting that social media platforms with negativity, it really does factor into some of the numbers that are affecting men's mental health. Of course, we talked about men's suicide rates were 4 times more likely than women. But also, if you're talking about having those self esteem issues with some of the things that men see on social media, and that's how they feel that they need to look, and then they don't get there, that's where all that depression and anxiety starts to build if it's already not there already. And in the US, roughly 6 million men experience depression daily. So when we go back to it and how we talked about men significantly are more likely to die by suicide, some men might not even recognize some of these symptoms because either they're not making themselves aware or don't want to feel that they have anything wrong with them. So again, they kind of just push it to the side and then go on their normal day. We haven't even talked about like workplace stress and even financial pressures as well, because that's a major contributing factor to all of this, right? And men are more likely to express mental health struggles through external behaviors like aggression and substance abuse. I mean, anger is really this sitting there waiting to explode if you're not taking care of your emotions that you're holding inside. And also, a significant percentage of men report having no close friends. So, loneliness really is a key factor because if you don't have very many close friends, and you don't have to have a lot of close friends, I would say really maybe 3 strong people that you can talk to and share your feelings with. But if you don't have anybody to be able to share those feelings with and you're just sitting on this, the next person that triggers you is gonna feel the wrath of all that anger and all that built up emotion. And that's not fair to you or them. So why seek help, right? So we know that men are really bad at struggling in silence, which then can lead to serious emotional, physical, and social consequences, right? Bottling up those emotions don't make them disappear. It makes them worse, okay? Reaching out to support is a sign of strength. It's not a weakness, and it can lead to a healthier relationship with not only your friends, your family, your spouse, your coworkers, again, better job performance and an improved overall well being for yourself. Okay, so what's the overall message in all of this? Mental health challenges like the anxiety and the depression and that stress that I talked about are common, but they are treatable. And getting that help can really give you the tools and the guidance that you've truly been looking for all this time. And realistically, no one really should have to face mental health struggles alone, because you need that guidance, you need that help and support so that you're going in the right direction, so that you know that you can do it. But really deep down, you know that you can. You just need that little bit of nudge and to understand that there are others like you that are struggling with the same issues that can help you get through it. Okay, so where do we go from here? Obviously, we've come a long way from where we started, but let's be honest, we still have a long way to go, right? We're taking baby steps still in mental health as a whole, but we need to start somewhere. And we did, but we need to stay on this path, right? Men still face that pressure to be stoic. Boys still get told to toughen up. And mental health systems still don't always feel designed for male voices. That's why Men's Mental Health Month matters, because it gives us that space to grow, to heal, and to help one another and really just connect on that level, right? Like that comfort level that like I spoke about earlier. And with you listening, you're part of that movement. Whether you're checking in on a friend, going to therapy, journaling, which I love, or just listening. That is so important to just listen. You are part of breaking that cycle. So as we start to get closer to the end of the podcast for today, we need to really focus on trying not to overthink things as males. And I know that's tough in general, but really just making sure that you're checking in on yourself and not thinking that you have to do everything alone. Okay? Remember, when you start to talk to people about your emotions and feelings and everything else, it's not weakness. It's that you're human. And you need to share just like everybody else. Because you can't internally keep all of this built up. You need to share your emotions so that you can really start to live a better life for you and for everybody around you. You don't deserve to be struggling in silence. No one does. That is not the way that you're supposed to enjoy life. You can't enjoy life that way. It's impossible. So you have to look for help. You have to seek help for you. It starts with you. You have the control to help yourself. We need to, as males, not overthink everything and wonder why we can't get calls from other people and no one wants to hang out with us. And why are all these bad things happening to me? Because we're looking for those things. It really starts with changing our mindset and really just trying to help ourselves the way we should. And that's what those groups are supposed to be for. Well, that's what the social media, the positive social media that we're looking for, that's what opening it up is about, because there are individuals out there for you to open up to. If you don't have friends that will listen, there are mental health professionals that will listen to you. And they do care. That's why they're in that position. They want you to stop struggling in silence. You are so much better than the struggles that you are sitting in right now. You deserve to be just as healthy mentally and physically as anyone else. Start feeding your mind that you are worth it, that you deserve to be happy. And it starts with you. So, as I start to wrap this up, I'm going to talk about a couple of things at the end here. Let's start a conversation with one of our male friends. Allow them to understand that you are there to listen and grasp what they're trying to tell you about their feelings. They might not open up right away, but you also have to allow them to understand that that's a safe space, right? If you're on social media and you know of some resources that are good positive affirmations or have a link to a social group or a support group or even recommending a therapist, share that. Allow men to see that there are other men sharing those types of information, because that's another connection that you will have with these guys. And really and truly, the biggest one out of all of this, take care of your own mind. You making that step and showing other people that you are doing that might be the green light to someone else's needs. It might be that jump start they needed to go, you know what, I can do this too. If so-and-so can do this, I want to definitely try this out. We can all make a difference in this world, guys. Just takes one person at a time and really just reaching out and allowing everyone to understand that it's okay to not be okay. We got to break that stigma. All right, so as I leave you, again, I'll leave you with this. Stay grounded, stay kind to yourself, and remember, strength begins with honesty. Until next time.